Jeff from Jim's Coleus, Coleus here. Finally, it's like as I mentioned in my short, it's hard to get into the mood of sowing spring plants when it's like 12 degrees out. But that's the winter we're having here, Jersey Shore. Some winters we get very little snow. Other winters we get more. Some winters are warmer, colder. Although it's been pretty warm the past 5 winters or so, we've had our storms. But anyway, kind of cold out, but we'll get through. Still, we want to get our seeds started. I normally grow about 600 coleus, and I don't start my coleus until really towards the end of February myself. Our last frost date here in New Jersey on the coast is May 5th. I normally don't start my crop, whether it's 500, 600, until the middle to end of February. Again, May 5th is my last frost date. Your frost date will be different if you have a frost date, depending on where you're at. If you live in the Sun Belt area, you have no frost date. You can grow coleus 24/7, 365. It's probably a good thing I don't live there. But anyway, but what I'm going to do, if you watch my short I just did, you know, I'm planting some jalapeno peppers. I decided to grow some basil. If you bought my seeds on my eBay listing, Jim's Coleus, I usually throw in a surprise gift for you. But anyway, I decided this year to join the Earth Day in my town of Point Pleasant, which is sort of like a flea market dedicated to Earth Day. And I'll have a table with a handful of coleus, but I decided to grow some jalapeno peppers, and I'll throw some basil in there also. So I'm going to do some jalapenos and basils. I'm going to do some jalapeno seeds and basil seeds, and of course coleus seeds. Now you're probably wondering what this is here for. Everybody knows what this is. This is beautiful fishnet rooting. It's in really, really good shape, and of course, again, if you're following along, you know this thing started to sprout a seed stalk. So what I've been doing is I've been pollinating it almost every day, and I just basically do what insects do. I visit with this small little model brush, kind of just go from one to the other, and it pollinates, sort of transfers the I'm not going to get into the science, but it helps pollinate the other flowers, seeds that are coming in. And it works too, because in the past I've done this, and it's accelerating. The more petals are coming out, it's starting to really grow. So it's kind of a neat thing to do. And I'll have some fishnet stocking seeds for myself. If you're interested in getting fishnet stockings, Rosie Dawn Gardens sells them as live plugs. This is actually probably a 5th or 6th, maybe 7th generation rooting from the mother plant that I bought years and years ago, and I just keep them going. And every once in a while I'll buy a new one from them. I'll get a live plug. But Rosie Dawn Gardens, they have fishnets. Head over there. They also have Darth Vaders too. If you're interested in getting a live Darth Vader plug, Rosie Dawn Gardens, highly recommend them. Really nice people. They're up and running. They're live. You can order your plants, and they'll send you live plugs. Very, very. I love the way they package their live plugs, and you can choose a date when you get them delivered. I don't like to get them early. I usually get them around the first week of May. So I purchased my live plugs, a handful, and I have them delivered. I scheduled the delivery for like the first week of May. So anyway, fishnet stockings. We're getting the seed stalks going. We'll get some mature seeds out of this. Okay, so back to the Earth Day. So I'm just going to grow early. This is earlier than I normally do. Now, in the past, I have sown my seeds as early as December, Christmas. But for me, for doing my farmer's market in June, there was no benefit for it. I didn't find it beneficial for me to start them in December. So I kind of tweaked it over the years, and I decided I'll sow my Coleus crop, my main crop, in about a month from now, 3 weeks, a month or so. That's me. That's for my growing season, and also for my specific needs for what I do with my the farmers market that I participate in. So it's just me. Generally, for Coleus, the rule of thumb is 8 to 12 weeks before your last frost date. If you're living in a frost zone, 8 to 12 weeks before your last frost date is a good time to sow your plants. It's just as a guide. From there, and it depends on what you're going to be doing with your Coleus. You're going to pot them. Obviously, you want to pot them. It's the best thing to pot them if you've grown them from seed, and then decide what you're doing. Either you're going to be planting them in a pot outside or planting them in the ground. That's up to you. But it's just a guide where you don't have to grow your Coleus seeds now. Don't think that you're running behind, that you're late. Coleus seeds, they start off slow. But believe me, once the days start to get longer and it gets warmer out and more sunshine, they start to pick up, and before you know it, they start to grow. My favorite analogy with Coleus seeds, before we get going here, Coleus seeds are real tiny. They're really, really tiny. So it's easy to get carried away. They're like St. Bernard puppies. They're real babies. They're so cute. You want to take 5, 6 of them home, and before you know it, you have this monster dog. So remember that when you're planting your Coleus seeds. I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but you don't want to overseed. Don't go crazy overseeding. And I'm going to get into some details coming up. So, all right, so Earth Day, I'll be planting today about 50. 20, maybe I'll do 25 to 25 or 40 and 10. I haven't decided yet. Jalapeno peppers, basil, and then Coleus. And there are a difference between the way you sow your seeds. Most seeds, depending on what it is, tomatoes, vegetables, some plants, most plants, you bury. Traditionally, people think of seeds, you bury them in the soil, you water them, and they grow through the soil. And that's true with the jalapeno peppers, that's true with bell peppers, that's true with tomatoes, cucumbers, what have you, and basil. We're going to bury the seeds in the seed pods. I'm going to do Jiffy pods. That's what I use. Coleus seeds, and this is really important, and I'm going to repeat it over and over and over again because it's the number one reason why I think people fail when they try to grow Coleus from seed, is Coleus seeds do not get buried. They need light, warmth, and moisture to germinate. So what you're going to do, and again, I'm going to get that, I'm going to show you with the Jiffy pods, but the Jiffy pods are just a medium, so you can just think of your Jiffy pod, once this is expanded, as your plate. Your plate as in Jiffy pod, or a pot of potting soil, or outside your regular soil if you choose to do that later on. But Coleus seeds need to be dropped on top of pre-moistened medium soil pods, pre-moistened. Drop the seeds on top and gently tap them into the soil, press them into the soil so they anchor, but they still have access to light and the warmth, and that's what they need to germinate. So just remember that, very important. You do that, you're at a good start. And another great start is to get my Coleus seeds, Jim's Coleus on eBay. Get some seeds. I'll have about 10 varieties. I just lowered the price. 10 varieties, individually marked in little glycine baggies. Fresh, harvested Coleus seeds from me. Order them. You have plenty of time for the season. So to Jim's Coleus on eBay, get some Coleus seeds, and you're well on the way, and you're to grow, and just amazing, because you can buy them at the store and so forth, but most of the stores and landscape places have pretty basic purple congs, and they're beautiful and all, but you don't get that variety unless you really go to a specialized place. There's maybe a handful around. I mean, if you're lucky enough to live near Rosie Dawn, forget it. I'd be out of my I wouldn't be growing them from seed probably. But anyway, there's so many varieties out there, and I send you a nice variety to really get started, and it's really an easy and wonderful thing to get started on doing. Very, very enjoyable. So, all right, so Jim's Coleus on eBay. Get your Coleus seeds. Stand by. We'll be shooting the video now on how to plant your Coleus seeds and jalapeno seeds. Okay, again, I use these Jiffy seed trays. They're little mini closed greenhouse trays. I like them. They're compact, easy to use. Come in 36. They have small 10 counts. I have the product link in the video if you want to purchase them, but you can find them at Home Depot, Lowe's, or online. You can buy them directly off the link on my channel. 72. I'm not going to do the 72 today. I'm going to use the 36, but they give you pretty good directions. This used to say about 10 cups of warm water for like the 50. This is a 72, but this one here says about 1.5 inches of warm water. So what I'll do is I'll put like 10 cups of warm water and then add it until it's up to about 1 inch here, and let all of the pods expand. And then if I see that a few of them need more water, I'll add more. But if I see that they're all already raised up and absorbed all the water, then I'll drain some of it, and that's what the directions tell you. But these are really good. They give you directions on the back when you open them up, and they give you some food, some seed starter food to mix into the water. So it's pretty good. So get these Jiffy trays. I really recommend them, especially if you're just starting out. It makes it so easy, so compact, and you don't have to use the soil. There's nothing wrong with using starter mix. I'll have that link in the description also. If you have, they make these trays in little cells too, where you can just buy the starter mix, put the starter mix in, add water, let the water soak into the seed starter mix. But it's a little messy, and that's why I like using these, because the pods expand and they're enclosed in netting, and it's very, very compact, clean, neat, nice and easy. But if you use your seed starter mix in cups or whatever or the way you want to do it, pots, you have to pre-moisten your soil. And if you put the seeds in the soil first and then water the soil, and your seeds are going to wash around and you're not going to know where they are, and they may become unanchored. So pre-mix, pre-wet your soil, or use these pods, because once they expand, they'll be already wet and moist for the trays. So I'll be using the 36 count, and I'll show you really quick how to sow your Coleus seeds. Okay, warm water. So I'm going to really use the directions from the 72 and add this in. So just make sure the water is warm, not hot, but not cold, not room temperature, but make sure it feels warm to you. You just gave this one a drink. Beautiful, beautiful Coleus. So make sure the water is warm. Okay, so here we are. Again, make sure when you get these seed things, they might have jumbled around. It might be like this or something in the tray when you bought them. Just put them in here, or if you buy refills like I do, make sure you put them this way with the little circle up top. That's where the netting opens up when you add the water. So we're going to add the water here. These trays are watertight. When they get a little older, they might have little cracks, so you got to be careful. So we're going to put about 1 inch of water, and you're going to let them sit and float. And that's why it's important to use the warm water. The warm water will absorb faster into the pods. And you could try pressing them into the little spots, but they're going to kind of float around. But they will, give them time, they will absorb and rise up and open. So just give them a few minutes. Go grab yourself a cup of coffee and do a little dance and think about maybe what coleus you're going to be planting. Okay, it's only been a few minutes. Hey, just a trick. Once you put the warm water in and they're soaking for a little while and they're starting to expand, the ones that kind of were floating around, they expanded. So push them, gently push them into their little spot, into their little slot. And that helps them absorb, that helps them absorb a little bit more of the water. They're not floating around. It sets them in their little spot. Just a little trick I learned. Okay, so it's still going. You can see it bubbling around. Be patient. Be patient. You can see it bubbling. Be patient. Let them expand fully. And if there is any excess water, we'll get to that. You can kind of dump it out. Don't worry about overfilling it. But if you do this slowly, just fill it like I showed you in the beginning, just to about an inch above. You'll be okay. Okay, so you can see here, there's no excess water. I don't see any excess water, so I'm gonna kind of go by here. And they're still kind of hard. There's still, edges are kind of hard. They haven't fully expanded. So what I'm gonna do is, I'm just gonna add a little bit more water. To the ones. There's a few here that I can see that they're a little, just do a little at a time. It's always good to be conservative and slow. Take your time. There's no rush. You're supposed to be having a good time, enjoying this. It's not supposed to be stressful. And there's nothing catastrophic that you can do here. You'd have to dump 12 gallons of warm water on these to ruin them. So just take it slow and just do a little at a time. They're not going to dry out if you don't put enough in. It's best to just take your time and enjoy this. Okay, so it's only been maybe 5 minutes, 7 minutes tops. Now, if you look around, you see a few. These are pretty much all pretty well expanded. There's a handful. If you see one that's not, what you do is slowly, really just pour some water directly on top of it. Not on the side, really. This one over here looks suspect. Maybe this one here in the center. And what I do is I kind of go around and feel them. They should be squishy and soft. They shouldn't feel hard on the edges here. They should be squishy and soft, not saturated, but they should be kind of pillowy soft. This one here feels a little on the side, like on the sides here. It shouldn't feel hard. I think we're in pretty good shape here. This one here is kind of a little bit hard over here. You can even pick them up and look. You see that one there. These can expand a little. And it's completely dry, so we're gonna add a little bit. All right. So these are pretty good. And you can always add water. I'm going to get to it next where we actually open them up. And if you find once you open them up that, hey, these seedlings, there's some dry underneath, then you can add more water. So it's best to do that. Okay, looks like everything looks good. Zoom down a little bit so you guys can see. You don't want to see me. All right. Okay. You don't need this, but I use these little cocktail forks. Again, you don't really need it. I just kind of improvise, adapt, and overcome the trials and tribulations of growing coleus from seed. Just kidding. Okay, so you don't have to start outside, inside. It really is just for purposes of the video and to get my ugly hands out of here. You're just gonna rip the netting. These really just have netting. It's peat with the netting, and you're just gonna tear it away. It's best to leave it in there. Tear it away, make a nice plate. Make yourself a nice plate. All right, a nice plate. Fluff it up a little bit. That's kind of how I tell whether or not, hey, these need water. They're not soaked. You don't want them saturated, but I could probably use a teaspoon, maybe more, on these, and I may do that. I'll do that before I put the coleus seeds in, but you're going to do that. You're going to tear away the netting in each one until you have a nice plate to start your seeds. Adjust these later. Still have plenty of time to play with these. Fluff them, and you're going to fluff them as you plant your seeds too. Add a little water if you need. These all pretty much, I would say a teaspoon, maybe a tablespoon tops. This one here is a little bit dry, but they're all moist. So I think we're all in the ballpark, because a lot of that's going to evaporate, and that is the whole idea about the dome tray lid. Later on, once we do plant the seeds, that's the whole idea of this dome, is the moisture from these pods, and there's a lot of moisture, is going to evaporate up in here. It's going to make a nice, warm, cozy ecosystem, perfect for anything to grow. Coleus, peppers, jalapeno peppers, basil, tomatoes, anything that you want to grow from seed, you can use these Jiffy pods. But the trays are really ingenious and so neat, compact, easy to maintain, easy to keep track of. You can label them. They come with little label sticks. Magnificent product. Highly recommend. Again, check the link in this video to where you can buy them and the different places, and you can get them anywhere. Okay. Again, some of them are a little bit dry, so we're not gonna make rocket science out of it. We're just gonna kind of dribble a little on each one. And you know what? If one is a little drier than the other, and one's maybe a little bit more, then the pod next to it maybe they'll absorb some of the excess water. But I think we're pretty good with all of these. And also get accustomed to the weight of your fully watered tray. And that's important later on, because when you put your dome on and you already have your seeds planted, and I'm just sort of getting ahead of myself here, but once you get your seeds in, you got your dome tray on, and it's in your little greenhouse or wherever you're going to keep it, that's got a lot of light. You need some bright light, either grow lights or bright window light, bright daylight from a window. Eventually, once your germinations start to show, you're going to have to pop the dome tray off to the side, and eventually it's going to release a lot of the moisture. Is going to evaporate away from the tray because the dome's open, and you're going to, after a while, you're going to like, wow, this feels real light, or the ones on the edge are really dry. We need to add water. So just sort of get an idea how a fully laden tray of moist pods feel, how heavy it is, and then you'll get to kind of know. And again, if they're going to dry out, they're going to dry out mostly in the corners, because the center ones are going to draw in the majority of any moisture next to them. So just remember, just a little side thing. We'll get to that later on. Again, these are really easy to take care of. I don't want to make it very difficult. It's not. It's supposed to be fun and easy, and it really is. Okay, now, just to give you an idea, again, I'm only doing a small amount of coleus and jalapenos and some basil. Again, this is for my Earth Day, but you can apply this to when it comes time you can apply this to when it's time for you to sow your own coleus seeds or what have you. But again, remember, coleus seeds are going to be dropped on top, and I'm going to show you that. On top of the soil and pressed in, you can use a little spoon, pressed in, and gently tap down to anchor. Other seeds, depending on the seeds, but most seeds get buried below. So what I do with the jalapenos is I just start off and I make a little hole in the center. I think I'm going to plant 2 jalapenos per pod on these. Now, years ago, I planted about 150 bell peppers to sell, and nobody wanted them. It's like, what? Everybody wanted hot peppers. It's sort of, and it still continued to this day, the hot pepper craze, whether it's jalapenos, there's so many, those crazy hot Viper, there's so many crazy hot peppers out there that people do challenges, or they use for food, chili peppers and so forth. Nobody wanted bell peppers. So I ended up giving most of them away. I kept a few for my home here. So again, that was probably 7 years ago, 5 years ago, what have you. So I decided, hey, I got some jalapenos. I said, you know what, let me try doing the Earth Day again, and I'll grow some jalapeno peppers, and we'll see how we do. I'm not going to try to get too off the beaten path. I primarily grow coleus for my enjoyment, but it's always nice. A few years ago, I was also growing bluebell terranias, which are ironically they're sown. The seeds are sown exactly the same way coleus seeds are. They're dropped on top and pressed into the moist soil. They need light, moisture, and warmth to germinate. And I did that. I don't think I'm growing them this year again, but because we're going to do some jalapenos and some basil. And again, this is all. So this tray here, and I may get one other tray, is primarily for that Earth Day. But again, you can apply it for the coleus part. You can apply what I do here to your own coleus. It really doesn't matter if I do this tray or 50 trays or 100 trays or what have you. So basically, I'm digging the holes for the jalapenos peppers that need to be buried traditionally, and the basil seeds also, they have to be buried below the soil. So I don't have to do this with the coleus. For the coleus side, what I generally did is just fluff, and you don't really have to do this. I just do it because when I find when I drop the seeds down, it's easy to keep track of. Because sometimes if you're doing big trays, you try to do it orderly, but sometimes you get a little like, hey, where did I start again, or where did I? So what I like to do is fluff up my plate. I think of it as an artist's plate. This is an artist's plate.
It's just a different type of art. So I fluff every one of them up. And then as I go back and start to drop my seeds, and I did say I dropped my 4 seeds, and I'm gonna put about 5 seeds per pod. As I do that, I press it down, then I can tell, okay, I finished that one. You can see. So I can pretty much keep track of where I left off. So these are just little pointers that I do. So again, I'm going to emphasize it over and over. If you've been watching my videos over the years, you know I try to teach by repeating myself over and over and over again. It may seem ridiculous to some people, but you know what? For very important points, especially if you're a regular follower and you watch my videos regularly, those important points get drilled into your head and you won't make that mistake. So I hope that if you're following along and this is your first time growing coleus from seed, you'll learn not to bury your coleus seeds. Moist, pre-moistened medium soil. Drop your seeds on top. Gently press it down. You don't need to use a spoon. You can use your finger, but just make sure you don't coleus seeds don't stick to your finger. Like if you put them on here, just make sure that's why I don't really use my finger. I try to use this. It's a lot easier to tell if a coleus seed sticks to it, and they generally don't. And just use. I like to use the spoon, or even a white plastic spoon's even better because it really shows up. But again, don't bury your coleus seeds on top of pre-moistened soil. Press them in so they anchor into the soil, but they're still open to light. They may be covered a little bit with soil, but basically they're getting access. They're getting light, and they're getting the moisture and warmth of the grow lights and the soil, and just the ecosystem that develops from the tray top. And it's really a nice, effective system. This whole thing, the big picture of these Jiffy Pod trays are they're an excellent way to grow anything. Okay, just so you know, when you purchase coleus seeds from me, you're going to get them in these little glycine baggies. So sort of a new thing I got this year. I'm really glad someone, I think Pat had mentioned it to me. Much easier to get your seeds out. It's less footprint. They're very easy to pack and so forth. And you can see, you get plenty of seeds. This is a Saturn variety. And what I've always said to people, if you purchase my seeds from Jim's Coleus, this is what you'll get. You'll get 10 varieties packed in individual baggies like this. So you'll get 10 different types of coleus. And what I like to do, what I suggest you do, is you take a white paper plate, and I get a good 90% of the chaff out of the seeds. So you see a little bit of chaff here and there. It's really hard to get rid of it all. I try my best, but that's why I suggest you use a white paper plate. It's so easy to pick out coleus seeds. Coleus seeds look like poppy seeds, but they're much smaller, very tiny. So you do is you get your seed pack from me, empty it out on a white paper plate, shuffle it around, and you'll see some of the chaff will get sent. Some varieties are really tough, like the Darth Vader. That's why I'm not going to sell them next year. It's almost impossible. I can't get the seed chaff is so difficult to remove. It's really, really hard. So this is it for me. But anyway, so here are the seeds. And this is how I grow. This is how I sow my seeds. I take whatever variety I'm starting off with. Say for this instance, this is going to be Saturn's. And you put them out on your white paper plate, and you kind of choose. I kind of choose, hey, this one, that one looks really good. I know it's tedious, but I mean, after a while, I get pretty good at it. And a lot of my seeds, I mean, they're all very mature. So I'm looking at all these, and I don't really have to go crazy picking them out. These are all nice, plump, very mature seeds. So you're going to pick out seed. And what I generally do is keep a little cup with a moist paper towel. So what I generally do, I have a little cup with a damp paper towel, and I just wet my finger, and I go over and I choose, say, 2 Coleus seeds. And there they are. And then I'll go over to my seed tray. Let's zoom in here a little bit. It's not a science, it's tedious. This is not easy. I mean, when I finish doing a tray of, a 50 or a 72 tray, it takes me all day, sometimes 2 days. And I do spread them out also. I don't want all of my Coleus to grow at the same time, so I do spread my trays out, but it's tedious, and I try to get enjoyment out of it, but it's tedious. But anyway, here we are. We have our 2 Coleus seeds, and again, this is not rocket science. Do I know where these are going? I have a general idea. I'm going to do the best I can to just pop it and let it drop. So I have the 2 there. And I want to get 2 others. These 2 look pretty good too. So we got 2 more. So I know I have 4 Coleus seeds on that pod. So we just dropped it. And just going to tap them down gently with the spoon. They already got their water. And also the water's warm, even though it's been a little while. It's still pretty warm. And we look at the spoon, make sure we don't have any Coleus seeds on there. There might be some soil. But for the most part, your Coleus seeds don't generally stick. And then we move on to the next one. Again, that's why I like to fluff up each of the pods. So you just repeat that. But that's it. Paper plate. So this is, again, a guide. You don't have to do it this way, but this I found to be the easiest way. White paper plate. Look at those seeds. You can't mistake them. A little moist paper towel. Wet your finger. Pick out your seeds. Sprinkle them on top of your pod. Gently press them down, and then you move on to the next. And it's very easy, but again, don't bury your Coleus seeds. Okay, now jalapeno pepper seeds. That's a different story. Now, jalapeno pepper seeds are hot. Ghost pepper seeds, which I don't mess with. Any of those real super hot type of pepper seeds. The peppers are hot, the seeds are hot. So if you're handling anything, make sure you really pay attention and don't rub your eyes, don't put your finger by your nose or your eyelid, nothing. I made that mistake. I touched my eye inadvertently when I was actually harvesting these things. Stupid me. I just wasn't paying attention because I was so used to doing bell peppers all the time, and I just, all I did was one time a little bit, and I was like, whoa. So even these here, touching them, these are hot. I'm going to be real careful. I'm going to wash my hands. I really should wear some gloves. I'm going to see if I have any gloves, but we'll see. But we're going to be planting some jalapeno pepper seeds. Okay, I think what I'll do is I'm going to just pop one on one of these little spoons. And we'll go from there, and I'll make sure I'm very careful and wash up good when I'm done. It's almost like handling radioactive material here. Okay, so we got, these last row here is basil. But basically the idea here, and the only reason why I'm really showing it, I'm not going to show you, I'm not going to be planting every seed here. I'm not going to film every seed. It's not necessary. But basically my idea, well, really why I wanted to do this particular video is to show you, to drill it through, to get that point out to people how to correctly bury your Coleus seeds. So jalapenos, I'm going to plant, here we go, we're going to dig a hole, and we'll drop the seed down into the hole, and we'll bury that over there. and I'm gonna put another one here too. So I'm gonna plant 2 per pod, and then later on I'll separate them. Later on I'll separate them into nursery pots. Okay. Now what I'm going to do with these that I'm not going to do with the Coleus is, once I'm done with the whole tray here, I'm going to give these a little bit of water. I'm not going to do that with the Coleus seeds because I don't want to mess with their position. I don't want them to get washed away. They just need moisture. But these here, I want to give them a little bit of water to soak down onto the seed. Although it is moist under there, it's probably not necessary, but I'm going to do it regardless, just to give them a little bit of a watering. So, but that's it. I'm going to again just find a nice spot to bury the first seed. I'm cheating. I'm using my fingers. I'm a rebel. What can I tell you? Here we go. We'll use a spoon to cover it up. We're living on the edge here, folks. Dangerous, dangerous stuff. Oh my God. Okay. All right. Here we go. All right. So again, we're gonna do 2 We're gonna do 2 jalapeno peppers per pod. Now, just another word, how these Jiffy pods, they do sell pods that are a little wider. So if you want to grow larger, like eggplant or something like that, they do sell, like they have trays that are marked for tomatoes, flowers, and so forth. So they do sell them in larger diameters and taller pods for like tomatoes and so forth. So just a little inside info on there about the Jiffy Pod. So they're pretty good. It's a good company. It's a good idea. I love using them. So easy. And this is exciting. You know, normally I'll have music on. I'll listen to some Colter Wall, some good traditional country western music, or some other music, some Vera Lynn from England, or Al Bowley, a lot of old stuff. I like some rock stuff too, but I usually play some relaxing stuff, or I'll put on a soundtrack, maybe Casablanca soundtrack or a Disney soundtrack. I love like Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs soundtrack or something like that. Yellowstone soundtrack to the movie. So I'll usually kick back and listen to that. I like Irish Mist. I might have a little Irish Mist, a little Irish chicken soup as they call it. So relax and make it fun, because that's what it is. It's a lot of fun. And afterwards, said and done, and everything's in the greenhouse, the excitement, I stand there in front of it, my feet going back and forth, waiting for this first germination. So in 2 days, tomorrow, I'm going to check, even though I know they're not going to germinate. But I'll sit there with my feet going back and forth. Is it germinating yet? Are they germinating yet? And I did get germinations in like 2 days at one time. It was crazy, or 2 or 3 days, I believe. I even have a video on that. So, but this is so much fun. It's a lot of fun. It's so rewarding. So, again, head over to Jim's Coleus on eBay. Get your seeds. I just discounted them. I'll ship them right out to you. Plenty of time. Just keep them in a dark closet, somewhere cool. Don't freeze them. Don't refrigerate them. Keep them in a dark, sort of a cool place until you're ready to grow, until you're ready to plant them. Get your stuff set together. If you have any questions or something you need, just reach out to me, and I'm here to help. Free. I don't charge for my advice. Lots of fun. And again, I'm retiring in May, so I have a lot more time to help everybody out. So there are no stupid questions here. Just reach out, and I'll help you best I can. Okay, and it's actually been a couple of hours after I finished sowing the seeds, and here it is in the greenhouse. You can see it's kind of misting up. By tomorrow, this thing's going to have a lot of moisture up top. You can leave that and just stay tuned. When your Coleus eventually germinate, this is specifically Coleus, once you start to see germinations, then you're going to want to pop the lid to the side and give it some air. But I'm getting ahead of myself. But right now you want to make sure that this is closed so it's well sealed and the moisture stays in. We got a nice ecosystem. Okay, everybody, so I hope you enjoyed that. Again, just apply it to how just apply this to when you sow your Coleus seeds or whatever type of seeds you're going to be growing. Just apply this to that and you'll do fine. Before we know it, we'll have ourselves beautiful, beautiful Coleus. Now this thing here, I can't believe how thirsty it is. I gave it a good shot of water just 2 days ago and it's dry. And it really needs to be replanted into another pot, but we'll get it through for spring. It'll be fine. This is beautiful. I'm almost tempted to take some more cuttings from it, but I don't want to mess with it. But look at a beautiful color on this thing. My bay window is just screaming with sun and warmth, and the baseboard heat there. Look at this hot pink. This is a wizard rose. It's a Kong family. It's a wizard rose. And there's always going to be variations. When you plant Coleus from seed, you're always going to get a little bit of variation. So don't worry if some of your seeds don't look exactly like this. Some of them change a little bit. You can see that has a little darker. As they mature, they'll change. But this is a wizard rose Kong. I love these hot pink and the white and so forth. But yeah, we definitely need to give this a drink. So, all right. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Hope it was informative. Very easy. Remember, don't bury your Coleus seeds. So stay tuned here. Lots more to come. Jim's Holiest of Coleus. Head over to Jim's Coleus. Get your Coleus seeds. I got them packed up, ready to go. You make your purchase, free shipping. I'll get them right out to you. You'll get them in a couple of days, and you won't regret it. I give you more than enough seeds, and you'll have enough to grow. You'll be up to your elbows and ears in Coleus, and I'll have lots of fun. And you can just put them everywhere. You can put them in little pots, give them to friends, birthday gifts, graduation presents, whatever. It's really, really neat. You could maybe, your church has a little fair. You want to maybe bring 25 Coleus plants and just give them to pots. People love it. They absolutely love these plants. So thanks for watching, everybody. Stay tuned. More to come. We're just starting the season now. So thanks for watching. Take care, everybody.